Okay, so now we're going to talk about revenue, cost, and profit. This might be like for a business that you have or something. So revenue is the money you're bringing in, and revenue is based on how many you sell, so that's our variable, X, and the price, okay? So X is the number sold, and P is price. The cost function is going to be based on fixed costs plus variable costs. So that's going to be the cost function, C of X. And the fixed costs are things like you have to pay for rent, you have to pay for, your license or something. No, it doesn't matter how many products you make. If you're making shoes, it doesn't matter how many shoes you make, you have to pay those fixed costs. But then the variable costs come in. Well, if you're going to make 1,000 shoes, you're going to have to spend so much money on the materials to make 1,000 shoes and the labor to make 1,000 shoes and things like that. So it depends on how many you're making. So that's what they mean by fixed and variable. The profit function, that's how much money you're making. So the profit is the revenue minus the cost. Okay? So if you're bringing in more than you spend, great, you're making money. The break-even point is when the revenue equals the cost. That means that you didn't make any money, but you didn't lose any money, but you broke even. Okay? All right. So they give us the cost function here. Given the cost function, C of X equals, and the revenue function, R of X equals, find the break-even point. So we're finding when does, if you wanted to write it with the Y and X notation, you'd have Y equals 0.85 X plus 35,000. You want the outputs to be the same, so that's why we can use the same Y. And so if we set up our cost function that way and our revenue function, so we can use substitution. We're just going to set them equal to each other. Because that's what we're looking for. Now, if I want to clear the decimals, I could multiply by 100. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You could just live with the fraction or the decimals. I did that the first time I did this problem, and then later on I just decided to get rid of the decimals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll put some commas in because that makes it hard to read. That's the bad thing about multiplying by 100. But then if I divide by, or subtract 85, not divide. Okay, so I get 70x equals 3500000. And then I divide by 70. And you could do this all on a calculator. You could divide them both by 10, and that would eliminate a 0, and that makes the division a little bit easier. So 5, 1, 1, 2, 3. So we weren't charging very much. For our revenue, we were only charging $1.55, so maybe we're selling candy bars. Anyway, we need to sell 50,000 candy bars to break even. Now, what does that mean for the revenue? Like, what is the break-even point? What does Y equal? Well, Y is going to equal 1.55 times 50,000. So it means the revenue we brought in, you do that on a calculator, it's 77,500. So the break-even point is we need to sell 50,000 and make 77,500. Okay, so too many commas. But I'll make this a big comma. How's that? Okay. So that's the break-even point right there. And then I think they want to know the profit function. So let me go back up. The profit function. So the profit function is going to be the revenue function minus the cost function. So we're going to have 1.55 minus that cost function. And so that's going to be, you'll have to distribute the minus sign, and you're going to get 0.70x minus 35,000. That will be the profit function. Okay.